before we get into the video, I just want to say, just like I would always say with Mr. Nightmare Reactions, I'm using this with respect. Please don't drop a copyright on me, and god dang it. Thank you very much. Also, same goal as before, we're going for 20 likes on this video. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel at all costs. Today's video, we're going to be reacting to, let's see. We're going to be reacting to Free Disturbing True Neighbor Horror Stories by Mr. Nightmare, which this was published back in February 10th of 2017. I think that's like, this is 21, so it's like, that's like 5 years ago. Before we get into this video, as I said, we're going to go for 20 likes on this video. If you guys want to see another video like this, go to the comments down below and comment your best comment of the month. Also, I want to give a shout out to our latest commenter from the last video I just uploaded, whose name is Kylie Penna. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but something like that. Thank you for the comment that goes as, keep uploading videos, you have my support, just make sure it doesn't echo like this one. Thank you for that notice. I'll keep that in mind. Thank you for that great comment, by the way. You have my shout out on your end. Let's get into the video. Boy! Story 1. Let's go!
I'm currently in a predicament, and quite frankly, I don't know what to do. I'll start from the beginning. 5 years ago, my next-door neighbor Charlie, or Charles as we call him, informed us of his 14-year-old son's disappearance. He reported it to the police, it was on the news, it was everywhere. Me and my wife felt absolutely awful, and always offered to help them out in any way we could. As the years passed with no word of their son, we assumed they eventually came to terms with it, and realized the worst had probably happened. Me and my wife never had the nerve to ask if the body ever turned up. Occasionally Charles and his wife would invite me and my wife over for a barbecue during the warmer months. We noticed neither of the two were ever the same since their son had gone missing. Charles' wife Kathy was always quieter and more reserved, and Charles just seemed
most
more
people be
awkward
like this
and
after
nervous,
their son's
both understandable
disappearance.
to a certain
I
extent.
surely would.
Fast
Sorry
forward
if
a
you guys
couple of
see a
years
window,
later to
I'm
just
seeing
last
it.
week.
Hope you don't see
Charles
it.
came over to me
That's
when I was
because
taking out the garbage and
iPad's
asked to borrow
brand
a
new,
shovel.
but other than that, let's go.
Without hesitation, I ran to get him my best shovel, not asking why he needed it.
That's some good
He
OJ.
thanked me and said he just had to do some work in his backyard, and he'd get it back to me by tomorrow.
I highly doubt he ever
then
will.
disappeared into his backyard.
Jesus!
I went inside, and when I was by one of my upstairs windows that has a clear view into Charlie's backyard, I could see he was digging out a really big hole in the ground. He seemed to be struggling a bit. He's 56 after all. I figured I'd go grab my second shovel and help him out. As I entered his backyard and called his name, he looked up from what he was doing, dropped my shovel, and hurried over to me, saying, No, it's okay, Tim, I got it. Please, just leave. I said, What's wrong with you? It's not a big deal. Mainly because of his bizarre reaction. He told me I will not allow you to use that shovel in my backyard, and then pointed to the gate as if I were a dog. I was so taken aback by how he was acting that I just left without saying another word. I went upstairs to spy on him through the window. He was digging the hole for at least another half hour.
Why
When
the
it
heck
finally
would you
looked like
dig
he
a
was done,
hole?
he
It's like
started
you're
looking
saying,
around,
I'm digging a hole
up
in
high at
China.
neighboring houses as if to check and make
Except
sure
in the
nobody
most
was
weirdest
watching.
and creepiest way ever, where it ends
Then,
with a
before I could
shovel
think
up
to
the
hide,
anus.
he spotted me at my window. All I could do at that point was casually walk away. He's up to something, and I wanted to find out what.
Yeah, by the way,
I
this is
continued
some
to look at his
OJ
backyard every
stuff,
so
some
often, but he
tame
wasn't
kinda
digging
crap.
anymore. I figured he knew
Tastes
I
like
was
OJ, by
watching
the
now
way,
and
but
would wait until it
other
was
than
dark
that-
out. And I was exactly right.
It's good.
At 1:30 in the morning, I heard the sound of a shovel hitting the dirt
You
outside.
can find this stuff at
It was too dark to see
Market
anything from my
Basket
window
or
now, so I
at your
snuck
local
outside quietly and
convenience
looked
store.
over the fence in the backyard.
not convenience store. You get
I
what
could see him
meant, at your
digging
local
loud and
store.
clear now.
Man, that's one giant
When he
hole.
went
It's about
inside
the
his
size of
house,
China.
I took that opportunity to sneak into his
No pun
backyard and
intended,
take a
but
look
something
at
that's
what
pun
was in the hole he was digging.
You get the point.
The moonlight
dear
alone
Jesus,
revealed a
that's a
small
huge
piece
hole.
of a black garbage bag protruding from the dirt at the bottom of the hole. I looked at his back door and back at the hole. I did this 3 more times, deciding whether or not to see what was in the bag.
Hell no.
In the end, I decided to run back to my backyard.
And let
And
me
it was a good
guess.
thing I did, because he came back outside seconds later.
And that's why we don't
But
frequent
he wasn't
people.
digging. In fact, he
Or else you'll
disappeared
be
to
the
the other
next
side of his
thing
house
down
and
that
didn't come back.
hole. Hell
I went back
no.
into my house and quietly got back into bed, trying not to wake up my wife. The next day, the first thing I did was look out my window to see that the hole in the ground was completely patched up in Charles' backyard. I also noticed that his SUV was parked in the street now instead of his driveway.
This
I don't
guy's
know what
going
happened
full
throughout the rest of that night.
stupidity on your
I'm
end. He's
disturbed.
about to
I
shove a
thought that
stick
what
up
was
your
at the bottom of
ass.
that hole?
Arr,
might have been
Mitty,
his son's
suck
body.
this.
For all I know, he dug up that hole to remove whatever he had previously buried down there and drive it somewhere else to dump it.
Let me guess, he buried his own dog.
This is all speculation. Call me crazy if you want.
Hell, go right
I
ahead.
haven't
would
told
not give a
anyone,
damn.
not even my wife. And quite frankly, I don't know what to do. Charles never gave me back my shovel. I'm not going to ask him for it.
I wouldn't
In
go up
fact,
to that
he's been
creek.
avoiding me ever
Hell
since.
no.
And something disturbing happened yesterday.
Hell to the no.
I by
To the
coincidence
no.
happened to look out my window across to Charlie's house
No.
and caught him standing at one of his windows looking into mine. When he saw me,
Oh,
he
what
shut
the
his blinds, and that was in the middle of the
The
day.
hell?
I have no idea what to do, but I'm honestly terrified.
Oh, don't be scared crapless. I'm trying, guy.
I've lived in 3 houses in my life, 2 with my family and my current house by myself. We lived in the first house for the first 15 years of my life, and the second house the next 7 before I moved out to my current home. This experience happened in my first home when I was 15, within the last few months of my family living in that house. I don't remember my family ever being really friendly with the neighbors. In fact, there were 2 kids living next door with their dad that me and my brother had only talked to maybe once or twice our entire lives, as bizarre as that is, though we did know both of their names, Eric and Todd. One day, me and my brother, who is 5 years younger than me, were outside playing basketball in the driveway. That was when one of the 2 boys next door, Todd, came outside and walked over to us, initiating a conversation. I don't remember what we said to each other quote for quote, but I remember the first thing that he asked us was if it was true that we were moving. As the older brother, I did most, if not all, of the talking. Todd was probably the same age as me. I never actually asked. By the end of the conversation, he invited me to come with he and his brother to shoot BB guns by the river in the woods down the road the next day. I agreed since it was the weekend and I didn't have anything going on anyway. My little brother asked if he could come at the last second, not under the assumption that he was automatically invited as well. Todd said yeah and then walked away. Late the next day, around an hour before dusk, Eric and Todd rang the doorbell. We were quick to answer the door because our parents didn't know that we were going out to shoot BB guns. Walking down the sidewalks with Todd and Eric decked out in camo gear and carrying a duffel bag of BB guns was really strange. The level of seriousness these 2 clearly had in this was really weird to me and my brother, and we kept meeting eyes, holding in our laughter a couple of times because of it. We got to the woods having spoken very few words. I could already tell these 2 were kids of few words. Maybe why we hadn't met them officially until that point. Todd dropped the duffel bag onto the ground and unzipped it, while Eric aggressively snapped a branch off a tree and threw it into the river. Me and my brother looked at each other again, this time not finding it as funny. Todd pulled out a couple of guns and handed them, and that's when Todd dropped the bomb and told us they were real guns. Eric grabbed a loaded gun from the bag and began firing at trees across the river. When I realized he wasn't joking about the guns being real, I was in a mix of anger and confusion. I grabbed the gun from my brother's hands and placed both of them back in the bag.
Why the frick would you bring
I
real
told them
guns?
we
How the
weren't
hell
comfortable
did
with
these
this and had
kids
to
get
leave.
these dang real
Eric
guns?
stopped firing,
I'd be
and they
scared
both looked at
crapless.
us
I'd
with
be saying,
expressions
oh
that
hell
seemed
no.
half angry.
But if I was their age, I'd be like,
One of the two boys yelled a
Nope,
curse
nope,
word
come
at
on,
us
come
as
on,
we were
come on,
walking
bro.
away.
I don't give
I
a
always had a feeling these two were
flipping
bad
flip
kids, but this
about your
confirmed it.
flipping stuff.
I told my
Come on,
brother
we're
not
getting
to
the flip
speak to
out of
them
here.
anymore for the
We
remainder of
dealing
our
with
time
this
living there.
flipping flip.
We told
That
our
way I don't
parents
have
at
to
the
say
dinner
any
table
cuss
that
words,
night that
'cause
they were really weird
If
kids,
I was his
but
age,
we
I
didn't
can't
mention
see
the gun thing.
Scheisenheiser.
I woke up that night to a breeze of cold air
Hell
hitting me
no,
in
where
the
the
face.
freaking hell do
My
these
window
kids
was
get
open all
these
the way.
dang things? Frick
I
that!
felt something
It'd
hard
be like a
press
cow
up
on
against the back of
anus,
my head
which
as I was looking out the window.
Basically a cow
And
on
somebody
anus.
behind me
Don't do
going,
it.
shh. Somehow I didn't
Oh
scream or
hell
jump. I just
no!
stayed calm.
Shh,
I
my
was able to
hand.
understand what was going on
Freaking
surprisingly
no.
quickly. I heard Todd's voice in a whisper behind my head. He told me if I ever told anybody, especially his dad, about the guns or the visit, he would come back and kill me and my entire family. I replied in a quiet, shaky voice, okay. He pushed my head with his gun before leaving through my window. Every night thereafter for months, I would catch either Todd or Eric at a certain window of their house, looking into either my or my brother's room. Their behavior became more and more strange as we got closer to the date of our move. Just a week before we moved, a rock was thrown at my window one night at like 1 a.m. I opened my window and saw Todd aiming a pistol up at the window, and feeling like I was about to die, I dove for the ground, only to hear the two boys crack up in laughter.
You an idiot!
I heard one of them refer to me as a fucking retard.
Hey, frick you!
There were two other
Frick
instances
you!
that week where the two would harass
Suck
either
my
me or my brother.
balls!
And ultimately, I couldn't think of a more perfect time for us
I
to
don't
have
wanna
moved and
die.
gotten out of there.
You tit!
After all these years, neither me nor my brother told anybody about the boys or their threats. All I know is those two boys were trouble, and it was a good thing we got out of there when we did.
No, thought you did, you dumb retard.
At the time I'm writing this happened 2 weeks ago. I've always hated just about all of my neighbors. I'm fresh out of college and I'm living on my own, but that comes
Who
at a
hasn't
price.
hated the neighbors
I'm living
once?
in a really shitty
Well,
area.
I love
the
my
only
neighbors,
place
so
I
I
can
got
afford
a
a
neighbor
house.
called Mr. Dino.
So I'm not bound to
He
have
owns
the ideal
Dino
neighbors.
Donuts.
The neighbors on one side always have their music blasting, while the neighbors on the other side are the creepiest people I've ever met in my life. It's two people living next door. One woman in her 60s who's not friendly at all and honestly doesn't seem all there, and a slightly younger woman who has some kind of severe mental disabilities. I have no idea what the relationship is between the two. I would commonly be sitting on my front porch when I'd look over next door and see the older woman holding the younger woman back as she'd be having some kind of freak-out episode. She'd have her arms crossed and she'd quickly rock back and forth while screaming and making noises. Sometimes she'd even look over and point at me and mumble stuff to the other woman. It's quite disturbing, actually.
I'll move out
Sometimes
that
I
second.
even go inside when I get too
Hell
uncomfortable.
no.
Anyway, it was a night like any other. I had to go to bed early for work in the morning. However, the next door neighbors were making an unusual amount of noise. I could hear the deranged woman screaming and throwing a fit as the older woman yelled in distress. This went on for about an hour, and I couldn't take it anymore. I marched over to the house next door and banged on the door. The older woman answered and greeted me with a, "What the hell do you want?" I asked as politely as I could to keep the noise down. In response, she raised her eyebrows and tilted her head down, clearly annoyed by my request. Just then, the younger woman entered the living room, screaming, "How dare you," repeatedly.
How dare I?
The older
How
woman
dare
held
you?
her back from
You're making so much
approaching me,
ruckus.
and
I
then
want to
slammed the
die
door in my
already.
face.
What the?
I had no idea what just happened, but I felt like I didn't accomplish what I came there for. I walked back to my bed in defeat. However, I realized they had finally gone silent next door. I was able to get some sleep at last. Well, I woke up, feeling like the night went way too fast.
you didn't get sleep.
I looked at my clock and saw that it was only 3 in the morning. My head fell back into the pillow in relief, but pretty soon I thought I could hear something come from downstairs. I got out of my bed and went over to my door just to make sure I wasn't hearing things. When I didn't hear any other sounds, I went back to bed.
You a dumb idiot.
I woke up once again to a dark room. Only 20 minutes had passed since I'd fallen back asleep. I didn't know what could have woken me up, though. And then I heard...
No! 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 We are out! No! Grab the
I tried to
shotgun!
find my phone on my bedside
Better
desk
die,
as a
woman!
source of light.
Hell
But
no!
when I found it, I didn't dare turn the light on.
Hell to the
I looked around the dark room in silence, trying to find some kind of dark figure in the room. I looked at every corner of the room, and even though it was so dark, I could tell there wasn't anybody standing there.
Hell no!
This time I heard where it was coming from.
We don't deal with
I
this
turned to the edge
bull
of my bed
crap.
and saw a black shadowy circle-like object right at the edge of the wooden wall of my bed. When the light of my phone revealed that black object to be the face of the deranged woman from next door, she screamed like the lunatic she was. She screamed as if she were a vampire in the light. I screamed as well. I screamed as I clumsily ran for the door and tripped halfway,
screaming like, oh
looking
hell
back to see the
no!
woman
Ah!
following me. I slammed the bedroom door behind me and ran all the way downstairs, where I locked
I
the door
jump
leading
out
to
the
the
window.
upstairs. I called the cops as the woman pounded on the door, screaming incomprehensible things. When the cops showed up, I told them the woman lives next door and that she was mentally insane. The older woman from next door came over after hearing all the commotion and spoke with the cops, pleading with them to let her go, but they insisted they had to take her in for at least the night. One of the officers asked me if I wanted to press charges, and as he asked this, the older woman gave me the most evil, hateful stare imaginable. I chose not to press charges, but her stare didn't change. The officers drove the ill woman away, while the older woman continued to stare at me as she walked back to her house.
Am I not?
5 minutes later, I saw her get in her car and drive away. These two still live next to me. I'm seriously considering moving out because the creepy woman next door makes it clear she despises me. And I've concluded that the mentally ill woman is not only terrifying, but dangerous as well.
No duh. Yeah, and that was 3 Disturbing True Neighbor Horror Stories by Mr. Nightmare, which was posted on February 10, 2017, which is 5 years ago. Sorry for the late reaction, guys. I only been around that long, so long. Before this video ends, don't forget to like and subscribe as always. Go to the comments down below, comment your best comment them up, and you will get a shout out in the next video. Other than that, see you in the next one, boy. Woo!